Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my June reading wrap up. I am running a little bit late on my videos, but I wanted to be sure to share all the books I read in the month of June because I read quite a bit for me. I'm typically a 5 to 8 books a month kind of gal, but I read 10 in the month of June, and that was all thanks to Mini TBR Star Hop. If you haven't seen it, I'll link the vlog above. The whole family came down with COVID, unfortunately, but I was able to read a ton, and I'm really happy with my reading. I actually only have one book here in front of me, and the other ones that I own I have lent out because I enjoyed them so much, and I also used my Kindle a lot. Before hopping too far into it, hello, my name is Emily. This is MacInnis Mama, where you'll find mostly bookish content like what you're watching today, obviously, and some gardening content sprinkled in because I do love reading as well as my vegetable garden and learning how to be a little more food sustainable for my family. So if that's something that interests you, I would love it if you would subscribe. Alright, let's just hop right into it. The first book I finished in the month of June was Awakens by Elise Kova. This was the May Patreon book pick for Stephanie's book verse. I really struggled through that. This is available on Kindle Unlimited and is a YA or NA fantasy romance series. It feels pretty YA to me, but our character is technically 18, so they were trying to make it kind of new adult, if you know what I mean. I did give this book 3 stars. It was fine. I semi-enjoyed myself, but it's nothing new. It feels very YA, very basic, older fantasy. It was published in 2015. In this, you are following Valor Jarl in the Solaris Empire, and she is a library apprentice, and there is elemental magic in this world, and wars and politics, and somehow she gets kind of roped in with the royals, and yeah, I don't want to say too much because spoilers, etc. But Vala is scared of magic. Yeah, it was fine. But next I read Valor by John Gwynne. This is the second book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. I read Malice a couple months ago, gave it a high 4.5 stars. It wasn't quite a 5 stars, but I felt bad rating it anything lower. Valor picks up right where Malice lets off. I can't really jump into what Valor is about without spoilers for Malice, but I gave it 5 stars. I lent it to my mom to read. I did the same thing with Malice. As soon as I was finished, I was like, you need to read this. She loved that as well. She also loved Valor. These books are so thick. They are epic, high adult fantasy. I feel like towing the line of grimdark. They are pretty dark, but not grimdark dark, if that makes any sense. And this is based with a prophecy of the brightest star and the black sun. I can never get that straight. It might be the other way around. I don't know why I always forget that. But there's lots of wars. There's giants, giant worms, giant ants, like giant creatures, animal companion, which I really love. Chosen one trope, kind of. Domino needs to be in every single one of my videos lately. Just know that if you like adult fantasy a little bit on the darker side, I absolutely love this. I find them to be very fast-paced. I'm a pretty slow reader, and reading these 700-page fantasy books, I don't find it dense at all. There are a ton of characters, but I personally didn't have the hardest time keeping them straight. Even in Malice, for some reason, I didn't really struggle with keeping them straight. The world is quite vast, and it's not like other high fantasies I've read where maybe the first book, the scope is small, like maybe one kingdom, and then we eventually, broaden our scope and broaden the world as we go along. You're thrown right into the entire world, getting perspectives from all different places on the map, and saying it like that, I can understand obviously how people find that overwhelming, but I personally didn't have a hard time with all of the POVs. Next I read Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I was going to join in with Rise Reading Corner and Marissa from Genre Garden for the Red Queen along. They are reading the series quite fast, like a book every 2 weeks. I was late to reading Red Queen, and having read Red Queen and Awakens very close together, these books are so similar. Both published in 2015, older, typical YA fantasy. And I gave this one 3 stars as well. I think I just need to admit that YA fantasy isn't for me anymore unless it's going to be something spectacular. I will continue the series eventually, but it's not a priority. I've fallen off of the read-along because I haven't been enjoying my time that much. In this world, it's divided by blood. There are reds and silvers. Silvers are elite. Silvers are the royalty. Reds are like the grunts, do all the work. The lower class, many are living in poverty. Commoners is the word I was looking for. Silvers have godlike superpowers. We're following Mare Barrow, who is 17 years old, a red in a poverty-stricken neighborhood, and she gets a job at the castle as like a serving girl. And things ensue from there. She gets entangled with royalty. There's lots of politics. There's wars going on. I mean, very similar to Awakens. Then I read Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. I seem to be starting a ton of series that I shouldn't be, aren't I? This is the first book in a mafia romance series available on KU. I've been using my Kindle a ton and loving it. So if you have any KU recommendations, leave those down below. I would like that to be a bigger focus on my channel and have lots of ideas written down. I did give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is an enemies to lovers romance, and it is 2 people from warring mafias. Is that right? They're not really warring. They're enemies. What am I trying? There's like a specific word that's like on the tip of my tongue, you know, that I can't quite think of right now. But there's like the Polish mafia, the Irish mafia, the Italian mafia, etc. And our heroine and hero are from different mafias. Callum is from the Irish mafia, and Ava, is that right? Is her name Ava? I'm the worst. Anyways, she's from the Italian mafia, and they literally try to kill each other multiple times at the beginning of this book. Like, it's actually enemies to lovers, which I really appreciate. I feel like we don't get that as much in a more contemporary book versus like a fantasy, for example. And it's really great. It's like a forced marriage. And I love that Ava, if that's even her name, Ada, I'm literally an idiot. Okay, Ada is from the Italian mafia, and she is not, I hate the term not like other girls, but she's actually like a strong heroine. She actually saves Callum in this book, like fighting bad guys. It was really great. Even though I couldn't remember her name. Then I read Holes by Louis Sakar. I should know how to say his name. This is a reread. I read it the first time like 20 years ago. We're at this really cool stage in parenthood that my oldest son Max read Holes and then wanted me to read it, and then we're gonna watch the movie together. And I literally have tears spraying to my eyes. Like, I'm the biggest baby. That just feels so good that my kids are reading now and will encourage me to read what they're reading so that we could watch a movie together, like an adaptation. And he's gonna want to read Harry Potter soon. And then we can watch those movies together. He's watched the Harry Potter movies. I have a hair on my face, a cat hair as it turns out. He has watched the Harry Potter movies before, but not read the books, and I would love to do that with him. And it's amazing. So I give it 4 stars. I mean, it's not a favorite book, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's a good time. It's 230 pages, a children's book, and I'm really excited to watch the movie with Max. I then read The Love Hypothesis by Ellie Hazelwood. This is another book that I do own physically, but I gave to my mom, which I feel really weird about. I gave this 5 stars. I read this while I was doing very poorly in my week of COVID. I was not doing well at all, and this is just what I needed. It was spicy and nerdy. I loved it to bits. I know it has mixed reviews, but I personally absolutely loved it. Gave it 5 stars. It had a touch of nostalgia for me personally because my mom was a biologist. Now she's an accountant. Kind of a weird career change, but so I have fond memories of like take your kid to work day, or when I had a lot of doctor's appointments, I would go to work with her in the city, and she did work in a biology lab in academia for a while. And I know like the struggle with the grants and funding and different projects and getting the gels to work and the pipettes and just everything. I was just like, this is amazing. I did not do science or biology. I didn't take any biology classes in school actually. So I just have those types of memories to hold on to. And then I've been diving more into romance. I've been loving the sexy stuff, and it felt really weird recommending that to my mom because we don't talk about stuff like that. So I was like, I think you'd really like this, but there is a couple chapters that are very spicy, so you are forewarned. And she was like, okay. Like, I don't know why I felt so weird giving her that book to read, but I'm excited to hear her thoughts about it as well. I didn't even fully explain what that was. This is the fake dating trope. They're a PhD student and a professor at a university. She's not his PhD student, and they're adults. Like when you're a PhD student, you're in your mid-20s, right? So I don't think it's that weird. It's not like taboo teacher-student type of thing. And they start fake dating because the university thinks he's a flight risk and is going to go to another university, and he's a very sought after, brilliant man, and she needs her best friend to think that she's moved on from a guy, so that's what she gets out of it, I guess. Next I read Monstrous Volume 1, Awakening by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. This is an epic high fantasy graphic novel, kind of steampunk vibes, horror vibes as well. I gave this 3 stars because I was pretty lost for most of it, and honestly finishing it even, I feel like I'm missing some information. I don't know if I just wasn't grasping it because I'm too dumb for it. I enjoyed my time reading it, and I did get out number 2 and 3 from my library, so I will be continuing the series. But I went in knowing it was very adult. It has mature content warnings on it. It's labeled as teen at my library, and I got into this huge thing with the librarian about it because at my personal library, especially where the graphic novels are located, it's like there's like Archie comics, like children's, and then there's the teen comics and graphic novels, and then, you know, the teen other novels and the children's books on the other side. So they're in the middle, and I was like, a small child cannot pick up this book, and the adult stuff is like way on the other side, so a kid really wouldn't pick it up by accident. Not that they couldn't, obviously, but I was like, this has very graphic scenes. I have no idea why you'd shelve this as teen, because it literally says on the back, rated M for mature. It says adult on the back of the actual graphic novel, and they agreed with me. But I don't know if it actually got re-shelved because it has like page 1, there's nudity, there's body gore, there is child trafficking in here. Yeah, it was pretty intense. I did really like that this book is mostly women. Like, it's a matriarchy, and there are very few male characters at all in the story. They're definitely, none of them are main characters with, you know, names that you are given really. this is very, I don't even think I can explain to you what this graphic novel is about, so I'm just going to move on. I next read Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 6th book, but I did read The Assassin's Blade first. I only have one book left, which seems so crazy to me. I did finally order it. The hardcovers were out of stock everywhere. I really wish I had known about the tandem read before I was 150 pages into this, because while I do know that that's a lot of work and very confusing, I really struggled to get through this after the explosive epicness of Empire of Storms. I gave Empire of Storms 5 stars, I gave this 3 stars. While I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to, it took me like 3 weeks to get through this. Just reading like 5 to 10 chapters at a time and being like, okay, let's pick up something else because this is kind of boring me. And I feel like Empire of Storms had enough plot and enough action to have some slower chapters in there. Like if instead of doing the tandem read, if these books were one big book, or like split them up more evenly with like the action and, you know, that set of characters, that's an Empire of Storms, and then these ones following a different set of characters. I don't want to spoil anything, but Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn, if you didn't know, which I'm sure you do, follow the same timeline. Both start after Queen of Shadows. So we go through Empire of Storms, a ton happens. It has an epic cliffhanger. And then to pick up Tower of Dawn, you're going like back in time. And I really struggled with it, to be honest. I next read Cruel Crown by Victoria Aveyard, which are the 2 novellas in the Red Queen series. I gave this 2 stars. It is 200 pages. I listened to it on audio and it was not good. The audiobook was not good. I really don't feel like they added that much to the story. We get some backstory on 2 characters that are not even characters I cared too much about. I'm glad there's one tidbit of information that I am glad that we got, but overall wasn't really happy to read that. I then read Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. How did I end up here? Actually, I'm not going to spoil anything, but for my actual mini TBR Star Hop readathon 48-hour whatever thing, I read it for that because it made me. It's 188 pages, available on KU. I gave this 4 stars. What the heck? So everyone says, oh, I enjoyed that way more than I thought. Well, everyone that I have seen review this. And every time I have seen someone explain what Planet Barbarians is before reading it, they're always like, okay, this is so weird. I don't know why everyone's reading this. I don't think I'm gonna like it. And then a lot of people surprisingly enjoy it, and I fell right into that as well. This is a monster romance, an alien romance actually. So a group of women is kidnapped off Earth by one set of aliens who are really cruel, awful, trigger warning for sexual assault in this book. But then their spacecraft crashes on this frozen planet, the ice planet, and they're saved by these Planet Barbarian men. They are blue. And there's a romance that ensues, and it's spicy, and it's very weird. But then you're like, huh. As my review on Goodreads says, I tried to go into this with an open mind, not entirely sure what to expect. I'm surprised to say that I had a great time. There was more world building than I thought in there, and there was actually like plot, 1 second please, plot, world building, and like I'm actually eager to continue. What? And the spicy scenes were great. A little weird because you're thinking of a blue alien, but they're still great. Oh wow, and I didn't even realize that that was the last book that I read in the month of June. I also have been reading a ton in July so far. I feel really great about that. You'll have to let me know which book you read in the month of June that you loved the most. Have you read any of the books that I have? Let me know in the comments down below. If you did enjoy today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up so that I know, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!